Hello, everyone. Today we will be discussing the problems concerning the country of Nigeria. Yes, the third world, Africa, as a continent. Gotta love it. Now, there are seven major problems. These are corruption, crime and terrorism, unemployment, education and university problems, environmental control, infrastructure, and gender equality rights. So, step number one, corruption. Nigeria ranks 144th in the Corruption Perception Index out of 177 countries. That was as of 2007. In 2012, a Gallup poll found that 94% of Nigerians thought corruption was widespread in their government. Yay! In 2013, the central bank reported that 76% of the country's crude oil revenue intended for the bank was unaccounted for. So that number amounts to about 780 million US dollars. In 2014, the country got better. It was now ranked 136th out of 177 nations. Since the 1990s, every single government has vowed to eradicate corruption, and that's because in the 1990s, the Abacha administration looted upwards of $3 billion from its people. Yay, Nigeria. And, of course, there's always election rigging. So, in a foreign affairs investigation of 2007, there were 700 election-related violence acts leading up to the election. There were also two assassinations. The Nigeria Television Authority, NTA, reported that the EU committed 15 million euros in the 2015 elections. However, there were no details on how and what the money will be used for. Number two, Boko Haram and terrorism. Now, Boko Haram is a well-known agent of destruction in Nigeria. They're essentially a terrorist group, kind of like Al-Qaeda in the Middle East. They are famous for the 2014 kidnappings of those 200 children. They primarily target women and young girls. And then in the northern parts of the country, where Boko Haram is primarily, students can't complete their studies because Boko Haram has continuous bomb threats as well as the threats of murder and violence for even attempting to go to school. In June 18th, 2014, they killed 15 students in a car bomb blast at a school in the Kano state, which is in northern Nigeria. And they launched their terror campaign in July 2009. And since then, there have been thousands that have been displaced, and there have been well over 500 people that have been killed in the past 6 years. Crime and public safety problems. Well, okay. In a study, the majority of people found that they can't really walk around their neighborhoods safely at all. By comparison, 1980s Harlem was safer. In 2004, Nigeria has an extremely high murder rate, so that's 17.7 deaths per 100,000 people, which is probably twice as high as it is anywhere in the highest part of the United States. The drug trade. Organized criminal groups are heavily involved, and according to the FBI, ethnic Nigerians, so that's Nigerians living abroad in India, Pakistan, and Thailand, provide the gangs in Nigeria with 90% of the world's heroin supply, which equates to several tens of billions of dollars in profit. So gang violence and gang corruption completely and totally runs the market there in Nigeria. Number four, unemployment. According to the World Bank, there are 80% under the age of 24 that are unemployed. There's an overall 24% unemployment rate, so that's 26 million people. March 2014, 16 people were killed in a stampede when 500,000 people rushed to apply for just about 5,000 jobs in the immigration service. So that's pretty much like what happens over here in the United States in Black Friday, where you have a whole bunch of people that just trample each other to get great, amazing deals. Each year, 200,000 students graduate, and most of them fail to find any form of job, so there's a high unemployment rate for even graduated students, which eventually leads to prostitution. In 2000, of course, the government expenditure on education was below 10% of the budget, which is interesting. This also leads us to problems with their education system. So, as an example, the lecturers, the people who give college classes, collect money from students in exchange for good grades. Kind of like if your university professor started charging you money. And students had to bribe university administrators in order to send their exam grades to the National Youth Service Corps, which is the place where they can be able to find work through. The UNESCO, so that's the Educational School Commitment Organization, recommends that 26% of the budget needs to be dedicated to education in order to impact national development. And as you can see there, it's below 10%. I think it's the exact number is 8.3%. And on the 9th of September, 11 million Nigerian children were out of school. In other words, they quit school. So Nigeria has a very low literacy level. Problem number 6, their infrastructure. The road quality is horrible. The power sector is corrupt and mismanaged. The workers are not properly educated as they drop out of the school system. 67% of the paved roads and 33% of the unpaved roads were in good or fair conditions. So that's 2/3 of the paved roads and 1/3 of the unpaved roads. So those were in good to fair condition. Not excellent. That's not great. That means no potholes. That means that you could probably drive on them. Maybe. Between 2001 and 2006, $50 million of the needed $240 million were actually allocated towards the infrastructure. So they have a money management problem. So Nigeria needs more power and better roads. They have tons of blackouts because their uneducated workers just cannot power the power plants. Problem number 7, environmental issues and public health sector concerns. So, Nigeria experiences hundreds of oil spills every single year, which damages the ground, and considering that a large part of their GDP and their economy is farming, that's not a good thing. They have improper waste management, so the garbage just kind of piles up everywhere. The life expectancy is 38.3 years, which is almost 1/3, which is about a little bit less than half of what it is here in the United States. Here in the United States, for men, I think it's about 82, and for women, it's probably 84. I don't know. I don't have exact numbers on that. They have one of the highest maternal mortality rates in the world. So what that means is they have one of the highest rates at which women die giving birth. That's what that means. And Ebola is a spreading epidemic in the entire country. The African Development Bank issued $1 million to assist the country in fighting Ebola. Now, speaking of maternal mortality rates, we move on to problems with gender discrimination. So, most people actually believe that only men should hold positions of power, and this goes back to their old customs and traditions that don't allow women to hold office or have any form of power. But compared to male unemployment, female unemployment is approaching 60% in the entire country. In 2011, 32 out of 469 members of parliament were women. So, let's see, do some quick math. That's less than 8%. In 2011, President Jonathan, the current president, who is now running for re-election in 2015, appointed a cabinet that was 33% female, which was a first for the country. So they are making progressions towards equalizing the genders. Now, in conclusion, the corruption in Nigeria doesn't allow the entire country and the people to advance both economically, politically, and socially. Terrorist groups and high crime rates keep people inside their homes and completely and totally afraid. A high unemployment rate is a result of poor education, and the country cannot progress as a whole. Bribing the officials is going into more kinds of corruption means that only those with money will succeed, so the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. The inadequate road networks means that industry is highly localized on the coast. So, yeah, that makes sense. The road system of Nigeria doesn't allow for industry to move further into the nation. The high mortality rates and the high homicide rates don't help in its own job security as well as its own people's safety. The women are oppressed. and the youth are uneducated. So Nigeria is looking like a great place to be. The other problem that they have is that they're extremely nationalistic and proud people. So changing something, like changing gender equality, is extremely bad. It'll take a long time before you start seeing what we even see here in the United States, where women and men are both treated equally, even though many may argue that it's not the case. So these are the problems with Nigeria, and always, thanks for watching.